All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to this interview on the Sustennial Network. For anyone who isn't familiar, the Sustennial Network is essentially an online community and place to celebrate the sustainable millennial lifestyle. Just as a quick background, it's kind of nerdy, but I feel like the last couple of years is I personally have grown super passionate about sustainability. I've gotten people say to me like, oh, you can't really make a difference, been made fun of for recycling, or have just been super nerdy about sustainable fashion brands. I kind of wanted to create a place where it's celebrated versus something to kind of be embarrassed about or something that's not necessarily the norm in our social groups. So part of that, I was fortunate enough, I created a connection in New York with Adeline Fashion, and they have a sustainable fashion show during New York Fashion Week. So one of those designers from this past one in February was Decker, and we have Caitlin Decker, the sustainable fashion designer behind the brand, here with us today. Caitlin, thank you so much.
Of course, I'm so happy to be here. This is fun.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, Caitlin is out of LA, right? You traveled in for the show.
Yeah, I won't tell you that it's like 80 and sunny here.
So nice. I'm like, it's sunny here too, but New York, you don't always get to feel it, and it's always like 30 degrees. Right. No, so today we just kind of wanted to connect. We'll be walking through Caitlin's journey on becoming a sustainable fashion designer. We'll get to see some pieces from the show. They are gorgeous, beautiful colors, beautiful materials. We'll learn about the materials behind the line as well. And yeah, we'll go from there. Cool.
Great.
So, Caitlin, I know that I feel like Caitlin and I, well, we were joking earlier because I had tried to tag her on something like on LinkedIn, and you were like, I haven't used LinkedIn in like so long. So I know you were once on there. What was your journey to kind of becoming a sustainable fashion designer?
Well, not exactly linear. This is sort of my second career. I worked in women's public health and development for about 10 years before I did my toe into fashion. And so in my old LinkedIn days, I worked for international NGOs doing women's sexual health education and STD prevention programs, things like that world. And so I did that for a while. And then I was in Cambodia for about 5 years. And during my time there, how do I say this? Doing women's reproductive health in a developing country isn't always full of like good news.
Yeah.
I got really burnt out. I have a hard time, as you'll find, like I have a very hard time separating like business and personal life. Sure. And so I couldn't disconnect from a lot of like the really heavy emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And so I really needed a creative outlet. I needed something that was like fun, that didn't like make my heart hurt. Sounds very dramatic, but
yeah, I get it.
And so I got into, I've traveled a lot, and the thing I always go for is the markets. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I go, it's just like the textiles, whatever, food, little trinkety, everything. I like all of it. Like the weirder, the better. And Cambodia has amazing markets. They have tons of traditional textiles. There's like a big weaving community and all that. And then there's also a ton of dead stock because there's so many garment factories there. And so you get all of these, varying in quality, but like amazing fabrics that come through there. And so I have always loved fashion, and I started making clothes for myself, which is kind of just a hobby. There's a bunch of cool little tailor shops right in Phnom Penh where I lived. They're super skilled and can kind of make anything to a pretty impressive extent. And so I ended up working with a lovely shop It's called Lotus Silk, who I still love all of them. And they would help me work through like rudimentary pattern making with like newspaper, and like taught me a lot and would help me like through little designs and why things work and why they wouldn't. And I ended up making clothes for myself and then for friends. A lot of like the expat scene there. There wasn't a lot of like Western style shopping options. And so I would make some stuff for friends and for like big events. And I ended up making some wedding dresses. And then it became reasonable for me to shift from like development stuff to fashion. And then I took like some summer courses in London, came back to Cambodia, and I did my first fashion show there actually.
No way.
I like made all my friends and my mom be my models.
Wow.
And then I did my first show there, which was different than the show that you walked in. It was great. I loved doing it, but it was also like, that was kind of as far as I could go there. And so I moved to LA about like 3.5 years ago and worked for a friend's company for a little while, and then really decided that I wanted to do my own thing. And I launched Decker in a year ago, May. So,
oh my gosh, a year ago.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Wow. So when you were in Cambodia, it sounds like, yes, this was a creative outlet, but was it something like, oh my God, I want to stay up late working on this? Like, I actually feel like I'm getting good at this and could potentially do this long term? Or did you kind of come back being like, all right, I'm just going to go back and work somewhere else?
No, I mean, yeah, like I think it was maybe because I grew up in like a very like academically minded family. I didn't think you could have actual like fun at your job.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. I mean, I think I had a hard time separating from like, if something was fun for me, was it still like good for the world? Was it still valuable?
Right.
And I think like, yes, I think it is. And I also like, well, the sustainability part of it was sort of built in from the beginning. I guess like being in Cambodia, you see the impact of garment factories on both the people and the surrounding area. And so there's so much waste. It's in the water, it's in the rivers,
Yeah, what did you see specifically? I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I've never actually met someone who was in the midst of all of that from a living.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like the way the city is set up, like the garment factories were out of town, which is pretty standard. But like you can see in the rivers and the irrigation systems, they'd be like different colors from the dyes. And there's just these like giant warehouses that, I mean, again, I can't speak for every factory in Cambodia, like,
yeah,
but like the standard when I was there was not great. Like there were big protests because they weren't allowed to unionize. There were, at one point, a couple people died. It's pretty bad. And then sort of, not ironically, but a lot of the public health interventions that I was working on were with women who worked in the factories because the conditions were so poor. They were paid so little, like they didn't have, it's a bad deal to work in a garment factory there.
Yeah.
You're not taken care of. And people are seen as pretty expendable. And so it seemed like I was working with this like really great tailoring shop that employed like 6 other people and had like care system set into place. One of the women got pregnant and she had paid time off, and like there were just sort of like general like human decency practices there. And I think like that was very attractive to me. And I was like, oh, you don't actually have to be like evil to make clothes.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. So that's something you're experiencing too. And then you came back to LA and I'm also curious to hear when you did make the decision to say, okay, like I definitely want to do this full time, go for it, leaving corporate. How did you kind of think about where you wanted to source everything, specifically in LA? I know you said you started to work with a factory there.
Yeah, so it took me a while to figure out. I was deciding, I mean, quite honestly, through a very advanced Google search, what are good fabrics? And because I was still learning, like I think I was 32, something when I left my old career, 33, something like that.
Yeah.
And so, without a background. And so everything, and quite honestly, everything I'm still learning, most of the time. But yeah, I just looked up like what's low impact, what's low water, what holds dye, what doesn't fall apart and become trash immediately, like stuff like that. And I ended up landing, originally I was going to use Tencel and Cupro and linen. And then I ended up whittling it down to just Cupro and linen because they were really different textures and they give a really different look.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and show everyone just kind of to get of
Those are both Cupro.
These are Cupro. Okay.
And like the tie-dye pieces, it's so funny. I wasn't even gonna like bring those to the show because I love them. They're like my favorite ones now. But I had just started tie-dyeing like a few weeks before the show.
I remember you saying that.
Maybe it'll work. And it did.
So question for you on that. When you, and I've always been curious about this too, when you say, I wanted to find something that would hold the dye, what does that specifically mean? And how does that differ from, I'm just going to use the example, like whatever was happening in Cambodia where you would see dyes in the river?
Well, honestly, a lot of conventional fabrics, I mean, cotton included, but like a lot of polyesters, things like that, because there's so much like kind of plastic in them, they don't hold color. And so you have to use a lot more color. And so the idea is these fabrics really absorb dye really quickly. And so you don't have to re-dye. You don't have to do multiple washes. You don't have to add more water. It's like a way of conserving the product and then also conserving water.
I see.
Yeah. And linen and Cupro both really absorb it well. And like, that's why you can see, they both can be genuinely any color.
Yeah.
Cool.
That makes sense. Okay. So you decided and kind of boiled it down to linen and Cupro. And so I actually didn't realize, so linen comes from flax plant. And this might be a silly question, but does that essentially mean that like, because it comes from flax plant, it's biodegradable? Okay. Simple.
It is biodegradable,
Amazing.
but it's also really long lasting and it's really strong. Linen's like 2 to 3, I think I wrote it down somewhere. I think it's like 2 to 3 times stronger than cotton.
Yeah.
It lasts a lot longer, which is why like mummies wrapped in linen in ancient Egypt are still there.
Yeah.
Like, it's durable as hell.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, really strong. And so but it's cool because it also gets softer when you wash it.
Oh, nice.
And so it has like, it doesn't lose its durability. It's not elastic really, so you don't get any stretch with it, but it holds its shape.
Holds its shape. Okay. And then Cupro, would you mind elaborating on what that is with regard to cotton waste? I think it was.
So
interesting.
Cupro is cotton waste.
Cotton.
It's like the leftover like hulls and microfibers that are then like broken down in some like chemical slurry. That is spun into cellulose and then that is woven. And the chemicals from it are multi-use. And so they don't toss them. They can be used over and over and over again. I wrote one thing down because I didn't want to. Oh yeah, so it dyes super easily, and yeah, I think that was it. And so it basically, the norm would be to just like throw out the cotton waste, the stuff that they can't use, but instead it's becoming this like has a whole new life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So these you said are Cupro, and then this is more of the linen aspect.
Yep, those are the linen pieces, and like you can see on Matilda in the purple.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm the sort of a person that doesn't care about wrinkles. Like I never have, to the like chagrin.
Either.
Yeah, I know it kills her, but like I like this sort of like texture at the bottom and stuff. So I think it's cool. Like I think I like that it's sort of a blank slate, but still has texture.
Definitely. And I'm also just even elaborating on like, I feel like I love everything. I was stalking your Instagram too, just about how you define sustainability. And obviously, like, you have so much inspiration behind what you experienced in Cambodia, but even loving your clothes, I think, is great. And the idea of how you incorporate these ties here, to think about, and maybe you can elaborate on it too, like, hey, even as our bodies shift throughout the course of our life, how can we make clothes that shift with us and fit each stage of that, no matter how our bodies change?
Yeah, and yeah, thank you. I have found, operating as a woman for 36 years, that fashion marketing isn't always kind.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the like ideas behind selling you something is making you feel like you're somehow inadequate, or like you're not right, or you need to fix something or tuck it in or whatever. I don't really like that.
Yeah.
And so when I was doing the line, something that was really important to me is that the clothes are adaptable, because like women especially, like, gain a couple pounds and lose a couple pounds every day. Like there's just like pants are tighter in the afternoon. Like it's like, and like you shouldn't feel like a monster because of it. And so I wanted every piece to be adjustable and to not have like your clothes be another source that's judging you. And I found like a lot of that honestly comes from being in Cambodia, because everything is like really adaptable and people
Functional.
they're like, there's a piece of clothing there called the chroma, which is like a checkered scarf more or less, but people wear it on their head, they wear it as a scarf, they wear it as a skirt. Like it's just really,
Wow.
there's not like a right way to wear it. It's just like, it's useful. And so, you know, like my favorite thing at the beginning of the brand was to give the dress that's on Matilda, the purple one, to a friend, and like have them figure out how to wear it, because everyone would wear it differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. There's not, I don't like the idea that like your clothes somehow dictate how you feel.
And I feel like that's what happened at the fitting too. Like, first going to like, I remember getting your clothes, like, okay, how do I put these together? Like, how is it supposed to be? And you were so great at being like, let's try it this way. What do you think? Like, we can even do it like this.
Yeah, there's not like a correct way to tie something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was so cool.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also just curious. I didn't know anything about Cambodia. That is such an important piece, it sounds like, as part of this whole journey. But
Yeah.
I think it's also just kind of reflecting on even those years and thinking about that experience, and then now 1 full year with Decker. Like, what has been the most challenging aspect of like going full time with this, and then what has been the most rewarding aspect of it too?
They're both long lists.
I'm sure.
I feel like is kind of the nature of starting your own thing. It's like high highs and low lows. But I think the hardest bit is like I'm doing this alone.
Yeah.
And so Every mistake is mine. Every like celebration is mine, but there's like no one to celebrate it with.
Right.
It can be pretty lonely. And I'm a like somewhat social creature, and so I like working in teams, and like it was so fun to be at the show and like have everybody around.
Oh my god, it's such a high. I work remote, so even me, I was like, this is great.
I get it. It's so like I like the collaborative effect so much, and I feel like better things happen, and
it's energizing, and it's such
is.
an important source of energy, I feel like.
Totally. And like just having a different set of eyes on something that you're used to seeing is really important. And so I think like that's hard. And also like it's really expensive to start a business.
Yeah.
It's really expensive. Like I wanted to do extended sizing with the first one and I couldn't afford it. Like that's just sort of how things work out. And so I'm doing a different model for the second line. Like it like money is annoying.
Yeah.
And it does dictate a lot of like the flexibility that I can have. And so, you know, and like it's a saturated market. There's a lot of people selling cool stuff, which is great. But like to actually sort of get into it takes a lot of work. And I think the like selling side of things is not totally intuitive to me yet. So
yeah, like selling into, I think we were just talking about this before, selling into, are you thinking of Decker going more towards like direct to consumer, or are you thinking like working with resellers, like we were talking about a boutique in Virginia?
I don't have,
or you're like
I would like to sell clothes. Like I'm not at a point where I'm like, I would like to sell clothes. I don't get to keep doing this if I don't sell clothes.
Yeah.
So I would very much like to sell them. And so I'll be doing more events and things like that. It's just been direct to consumer for now. I think the first year of this has been like, keep it alive.
Yeah.
Kill the baby. Kind of that. And now after the show, like I'm branching out a little bit more. I'm doing some events this summer and some pop-ups and hopefully working with an online retailer as well. So I think it's like now I have my feet wet and I'm branching out a little bit. So, but that was a very long-winded way of saying the hardest part is like not having the gut check.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, is this right?
Yeah.
Anyone? Okay, I guess I'll do that. Like, and then the best part, actually like seeing the clothes on people is still really cool to me.
Yeah.
It's fun to see people like being in the clothes and to like see how they style it, to see how they make it their own. And like, it's really fun when strangers wear my clothes. Yeah. I still find that very exciting. Like, you're not trying to be nice to me. You just like them. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I think like at the first pop-up I did, there was like a woman who was like, she wanted a pair of pants, but she could never find pants that fit her. And she had like such a hard time, and she like wasn't even gonna try them on. And I was like, well, I'll give them a shot. And I showed her like different ways to tie them and stuff. And they fit her, and like she was really excited because I know that feeling of like not finding the thing that's easy for other people to find, you know. So like stuff like that is really cool. So
I feel like we should tell the quick story of when we were backstage and you were like, oh, like we were just talking about modeling, and I was like, oh, like I don't necessarily see modeling as a full-time thing or anything like that. I'm just passionate about sustainable fashion. I enjoy doing it. Experience is great. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you're like, oh, really? Like, why not? And I was like, I just have a hard time not smiling. You were like, it's okay. Like, you could smile at my clothes. And so you'll see in the photos, like,
I love that you smiled. Also, my mom loved that you smiled. She was like, well, I don't model smile. I don't understand it.
I just look so awkward when I don't smile. So you feel
I'm glad you smiled. The clothes are like happy.
I know.
They're like There's like bright yellow dresses with ties up the back. Like that's not
Amazing.
stoic. So.
Yeah. Anyways, well, Caitlin, okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
For anyone that's interested in checking out the entire line, I'm pretty sure everything is up on your website.
Yes.
In terms of, okay. So Decker Shop.
Tie-dye stuff is going up soon. I just have to make.
Oh, tie-dye stuff. Amazing. Yeah. And then Caitlin's also on Instagram. I'll be kind of posting some things as well that I'll be tagging the shop in too. So feel free to look there. But Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is so fun.
Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.